Geek Tank Radio. News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome to Geek Tank Radio. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today's episode is brought to you by Nick Fury's Life Model Decoy Corporation. Tired of being at those awkward family gatherings? Really wondering why your uncle keeps looking at you like that? Tired of Aunt Susan's organic green bean casserole? There's a lot of things we're tired of, but now you don't have to be there. You can download your memory. You know what? I tried to have a clean opening, but I don't know how Joe does this every week. This is amazing.
So your Life Model Decoy is not working this morning?
No, not even remotely.
All right, awesome.
And as you'll notice, we do not have a Life Model Decoy for Joe Thorderson this week. You're stuck with just me. I'm Brandon Olmstead from, here. And I got over here on my, I'm not going to call you a buddy because that seems like a drinking game thing. My co-host, Allan Gilbreth from Geeky Side TV and Dark Oak Media.
Yes. How you doing, man?
I'm a little lost. I never realized just how important Joe was to the show.
Well, he does hold down a chair well.
He does.
He does.
He gives us that wonderful dome to throw things at.
That is true. And I'm going to slightly call back and go, really, ladies and gentlemen, just let it go. Let it go. Stop the horror that is a green bean casserole.
Really?
Please stop.
What is this? I mean,
save a green bean for something tasty.
It's like, first off, don't cream green beans. It's rude. It's a travesty, and nobody asks you to bring it.
Yep.
They asked you to bring plates because they didn't want you to fail them with food.
Yeah, don't do the green bean casserole, and don't bring anything with Jell-O in it.
No.
Really stop.
Or anything in Jell-O.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how cleaning out the refrigerator and putting it in Jell-O in a mold.
In a bundt cake mold.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't get it.
Kind of scary.
But as you can tell, one of our major components to this show this week is going to be festive foods. You know me and Allan are food guys. We can take a Geek Eat segment and drive it so far into the ground that people on the other side of the world are enjoying it. So we're going to go there.
We're also going to talk a little bit about Mars.
We're going to talk about Mars. I am really sad that Joe's not here because whenever you have a science segment that has to deal with space, ears up, tail wagging, and I know he hates when we say that.
Well, and that's why we're going to say it repeatedly.
Repeatedly.
Yes.
So, I'm going to ask you what's going on in Mars, but I'm going to wait until we get to the science segment.
Let's just say it's getting damp.
It's moist.
Like a bundt cake.
But not like a fruit cake.
No, we'll talk about fruitcakes later. Speaking of Joe on a job.
But we're so mean.
And I think you went to see a movie last night.
I did. Well, not even last night. I went yesterday afternoon and got to see the very first Memphis showing of Spider-Man No Way Home. And I'm still shaking a little bit.
Are you still glowing?
Oh, dude, it was so good.
All right, with no spoilers and that kind of stuff.
Well,
I'm just going to tell you what I have been read so far.
Okay.
There is absolutely nothing about the plot or storyline of this movie that should remotely work.
Nope.
There is nothing about the setup or why the concept of the movie, how it could possibly work.
True.
And so far, everybody has told me, you know what? That didn't matter. Because everything they did worked.
Everything they did worked.
Everything went well. Yep. Everybody was happy. You can tell everybody on set, all the way down to the assistant dog groomer, was happy to be there.
Yes.
And this was just, and as I had somebody explain to me last night, they said, Allan, I have no other way to tell you this other than it was simply that movie.
It was that movie.
And I went, that's saying an awful lot.
We've been needing
after what we've had.
Yeah, but we needed that movie. Just throwing it out there. There's a couple of things in Homecoming and Far From Home that, as much as those are great movies, you just look at it and there's something missing from Spider-Man. They brought it back. They brought it in, and it worked.
All right, in all the previous Spider-Man iterations, what I felt was missing was just simple chemistry. They had great people. They had great actors. They had great people. But even great actors and great interest don't have deliverable screen chemistry.
Right.
This young man and the people around him.
I think Tom Holland could literally walk into anything and all of a sudden be friends with everybody.
Well, I think that is showing.
He has a certain charm about him that even if you don't like his Spider-Man, you find yourself cheering for his Peter Parker.
I'll be honest. Well, as much as I liked the other ones
in the Raimi verse, Spider-Man movies, you loved Spider-Man or you loved Peter Parker, but you didn't really like Spider-Man. He just the quips were wrong. It was just stilted, stunted. And then when you had Andrew Garfield in the Amazing movies, you really, really liked his Spider-Man, but his Peter Parker came off as
yeah.
He just doesn't have that thing. And they managed with Tom Holland to give us everything we needed.
Well, that is what I've been told, and I can't wait to go see it myself. Okay, in our next segment,
I'm sitting there.
We're going to come back.
Geek Tank Radio.
I didn't steal it. I made that item. Made it with the magic that I stole.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. Max just keeps looking at us funny.
Well, that's the reason he is under glass.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, behind the glass.
I want to know the origin of the last name behind the glass. Anyways, if you're just joining us, it's just me and Allan today. And if you think your commute here in Memphis right now was soggy, we're going to talk a little bit about water on Mars.
We are, because that is, well, let's face it, that's kind of the big news. It's kind of the big linchpin of if we're going to go, we're going to go colonize a new planet. We're going to have a reason to get there and get back. Now, the other thing I want to pick up is a while back, we talked about a story that was being able to get a degree in space mining.
Yes.
And at the time,
in fact, we've been talking about that in various iterations of this show over the course of various not so happy homes.
That's true. But the topic keeps coming up.
Right.
So exogeology, I guess, would be the proper phrase for it.
Okay. Explain.
Well, we have exobiology. Right. We have, so it'd be exogeology, I suppose. And the idea is that, there's this huge asteroid belt out there.
Yes.
And just to be purely mercenary in this conversation,
which we're good at.
We're good at. Let's start with gold.
Yes.
Okay. Gold primarily is not an earth substance.
Okay.
Gold is actually an intergalactic product. So the thought that there is a gold asteroid wandering around out there is not just plausible, but it is probable.
I am intrigued.
Now, we know that iron makes up a lot of meteorites.
Yes.
So, all right. So instead of having to go, if we're going to go colonize Mars or we're going to go be in the stars, so to speak, raw materials, source materials get very, very important. And I guess it's going to be if you got the goods and you can get there first, what is out there? What could possibly be there? So the thought, and this is for, everybody's kids and grandkids that are wondering maybe what they want to do in the future.
Yeah, because it's a little late for us.
It's way too late for me. Of the thought that intergalactic studies, farming, agriculture,
potatoes,
of mining, smelting, mineral work, metal work.
Dude, I want to forge on a meteorite.
And one of our favorite topics, we'll throw in intergalactic cooking. You got to eat. As we've discovered in the NASA programs, zero gravity food acquisition is interesting.
That's a nice way of saying hard.
Because like your glass of water doesn't sit still. It gets up and wanders around the capsule.
Yes. And,
I'm just kind of going, all right, as we're the reason I'm bringing this up today, Brandon, I'm looking at you, is that this is about to happen.
We're on the verge of, launching basically space colonies to Mars anyway.
Well,
we're going to need industry.
Let's just say we have now finally had the linchpin event that as geeks we have to salute. William Shatner has actually legitimately been in space.
And for those of you
not on a TV set.
But for those of you who would like to see this, he does have a streaming show, Shatner in Space.
Yes.
I believe it's on Amazon Prime.
Yes. All right, so we've done this.
Right.
We have now put, let's just call it what it is. We put Captain Kirk in space. Why? Because it had to be done.
We could. I mean,
all right.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in the world who wish he hadn't come back.
Well, I'm sure there's one or two, but fundamentally, I'm thrilled. The dude's 90. Rock on with your bad self. So I'm also going to throw into this Elon Musk, who apparently is a fan of a certain very geeky, very rock and roll movie, decided to put a Tesla into space.
Yeah.
All right. How heavy metal can you go?
Oh, yes.
All right. So
we've all seen the opening credits.
We're there, Brandon.
But this
is happening.
I really can't have Elon get the Lochnar.
I think he already has it. That's where it all comes from. So when we look at this, and I'm looking at you, and I'm going, Brandon, we're there. This is actually something somebody is going to get a degree in, or somebody's going to have a job doing. That we're probably going to know.
I have no doubt in that, but at the same time, I don't know how I can exploit that to my benefit yet.
It's still early in the game.
Right.
We're working on it. We need that zero gravity room so we can teach people how to use tools.
Ooh.
So,
you think we can get Cumulus to build one of those on the back set of the studio?
If they just leave me and Joe alone long enough, we'll get it built. It could happen. It could happen. Okay, so here we are. We need raw materials.
Right.
We know that space is not the big empty place we thought it was. It is actually brimming with stuff.
And it's very busy.
And the thought that really never occurs to people is that planets like Mars, planets like Earth, are actually inundated with tons of dust all the time. The Earth and Mars and all that stuff, anything with gravity is attracting particles to it.
Okay. I can totally agree with that. I've had to dust my house 6 times since I put a Christmas tree in there.
I don't think, that's mostly you that you're cleaning up inside the house, but you have pets.
This has gotten ridiculous this month.
So, this month usually does. All right. So I'm watching CNN. And here comes this thing, and it says Mars has its own version of the Grand Canyon. Okay, I can totally believe.
I'm intrigued.
The moon and everybody else, because we've got an awful lot of visual firepower focused on Mars.
Right.
We got a lot of companies looking at Mars. We've got a lot of, can I say resort companies? I would say semi-tech companies to very high-end tech companies.
Yes.
Are all looking at this for different reasons.
Okay. Well, we do have resort companies looking because you're going to need housing for the people who go.
All right. Well, then the European Space Agency. Now, we always usually think of NASA, but the European Space Agency, they're not sleeping at night either. They're working a lot of angles on all this. And while they were looking at this, they were doing something with the Exomars Trace Gas Orbiter. Now, this thing's important because...
What's the acronym for that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
ETGO. ETGO. There you go.
Echo.
of this little guy got launched in 2016. It's a joint mission, and they are looking for the different vapors that could be there, a.k.a. mostly water.
Okay.
So as this thing has been flying around, of course, they happen to fly by Val's, they call it Valle Marineus, because it's a big, huge, deep thing. It's like Marianas Trench.
Okay.
For those of us trying to get something to visually add it to it, it's basically a giant trench in the Martian landscape. And, well,
big crack in the planet.
It's 10 times longer than the Grand Canyon, and it's 20 times wider, and it's 5 times deeper, and it opens up into water.
What is it with Martians always feeling the need to go that extra step just to make us look bad?
Well, I have a feeling Mars is connected somewhere to West Texas, because everything's bigger. So we're looking at this, and I'm just kind of trying to add all this up together in my head. So we're looking at space mining. We're looking at asteroid capture. We're looking at being able to draw raw materials instead of from underneath the Earth, from outside of the Earth.
Right.
So things that go flying by, we're not going to worry so much about them anymore as so much as we're going to go get them.
Okay.
And if we're going to be on Mars and we're going to be productive on Mars, we might even be of planet farming, planet changing, terraforming on Mars.
Well, I've got a quick question. I hope not to bring us off track like we usually do during science, but by harvesting materials from asteroids and everything, the chemical makeup of those, would that make them more malleable? Would it make them harder to deal with?
Well, from what we've seen from meteorites, we have metalsmiths here on Earth that have made swords out of the iron from asteroids.
True, but at that point, they've been tempered. They've been tempered as they've crashed to the Earth.
Well, you just reheat to remove the temper, and go back into production. Yeah. So they're really not.
So it would skip a step if we're pulling it from there.
Well, we don't have to go get it from there. We don't have to remove.
It'll be so much cooler when we do.
Well, the collection process.
Literally, I'm talking about less heat.
Is what's just amazing.
Yeah.
So here we go. I mean, so my point in this whole segment has been, we're there.
Right.
This is going to happen, and we keep finding more and more water on Mars. Mars refuses to be boring. It's more and more interesting to go there. More and more resources are going towards this. It's not going to be long now.
Cool. But, you said that there's, we were talking about the dust.
Right.
And, of course, you brought up the fact that we're finding a lot of extra moisture on Mars. So where do we go from here?
Well, that's going to be the cool thing, because apparently where we go from here is we're going to Mars.
Yes.
Geek Tank Radio.
Yeah! Oh, no!
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I am your host, Brandon Olmstead, sitting here with Allan Gilbreth from Geeky Side TV. And before we get into our next segment, Allan, why don't you let the good people know where all they can find us?
Oh, well, let's see. The best thing they can do is that, you can take us with you now.
Which means the three of us can fit in your pocket. That in and of itself is a scientific miracle.
Yeah, well, I think that would be a D&D bag of holding at that point. Alrighty, let's dive into the fact that Geek Tank Radio is now on Spotify. You can go to geektankradio.com. You can catch up on all of our past episodes, and you can click that Spotify button. And if you go to Spotify and you've got an account, go ahead and, that 5-star rating sure would be nice, and click like. We're also available on YouTube. How's that for pretty cool?
Everybody knows where YouTube is.
Everybody knows where YouTube is. And again, you can just look up Geek Tank Radio and give us a like and subscribe. And that way you don't miss any episodes. So we are very portable. We're happy to come along with you.
Unless you're going to my grandmother's house. Then you need to stay outside, because you don't need to see me like that. Anyway, as we were talking at the top of the show, and if you weren't with us to begin with and you're just now joining us, we were bashing on green bean casserole.
We were because it needs
it's
to
a
be.
travesty. there's a few other holiday travesties and mainstays that you see this time of year, and everybody wants to bring them to your friendly potluck dirty Santa party.
I have a theory about that.
Okay,
I have a theory as to why people bring things like green bean casserole and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and that is so you will never ask them to bring food again.
Right, but those are also the people who show up with to-go plates.
No, well, that's true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
I've always been when it comes to potlucks, I've always been one of those guys who I'm not going to bring anything that I wouldn't eat.
Yes.
And one of the things I've noticed, with green bean casserole is that it all ends up gone, but I think people just scoop it onto their plate out of a courtesy, except for the person who brought it. You will never see it on their plate.
I remember one holiday we went to in which I was asked to provide a dessert.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring up cream cheese because, of course, cream cheese is all in the news. Kraft has announced there's a cream cheese shortage, and they'll pay you not to make cream cheese. Well, if you go to the website, guys, it is more a promotion than you're going to get paid to not do this.
Yeah.
If you purchase a different Kraft brand dessert and go through their process, they will reimburse you I think you're going to get a coupon for other things.
Yeah.
So, but basically the idea is they're drawing attention to the fact that everybody's been trying to learn how to cook at home for the last couple of years,
right,
and they are slightly exceeding the available production value of Philadelphia cream cheese.
I think, and I think it's funny that, Philly cream cheese, which, you see in recipes, I mean, it literally will have the Kraft logo slapped on the recipe right next to it. That's the only one I'm seeing not there.
There are a lot of other cream cheese
There's a lot
companies.
of other cream cheeses, and I will grab the Kroger brand, the Walmart brand, wherever I have to go to get my groceries at that given time, and I do base it on time. Mm-hmm. It's like if it's the middle of the day, I know the only people I'm going to deal with is soccer moms. I'm going to go shop at Target.
That's true. All right, so for those of you freaking out
I'll
that
be
there's
honest,
not going to be any cream cheese.
I have been using a hell of a lot of cream cheese lately.
Well, so apparently has everybody else, and the Kraft Corporation would like to thank you for your continued support.
My wife's a bagel connoisseur, so
yes,
I'm always picking up bagels.
Well, and the bagel connoisseurs are concerned, but I assure you, don't hoard. Really, it's a perishable. It doesn't hoard well.
Yeah.
So.
Wait! Before we get back into food, because you brought up hoarding, I want to talk about this for just a quick second. I know
Brandon has been triggered.
My segues are a lot different than Joe's, and they're like whiplash. But you bring up hoarding, and yes, first of all, do not hoard any dairy product. It's gonna go bad before you use it. But something that doesn't go bad before you use it, which was hoarded a lot during our pandemic days, was toilet paper.
Oh, goodness,
okay,
yes.
I was Christmas shopping. I was in Bass Pro because I'm looking for a tackle box for somebody. And not even for, because they fish. They make cakes, and they need something to put all their crap in. But
wow. Okay.
So I'm running through Bass Pro Shop. They have now put out, in order to help you with your hoarding, they have a toilet paper gun. So I was really tempted to get you and Joe one just so that y'all could fire at each other across the Tool Talk studio, but I'm figuring Larry Brown wouldn't appreciate the Brown Refrigeration Studios being covered in wet toilet paper.
I'm just going to leave that at wow. Never underestimate board inventiveness.
No. Because that's how I do most of my recipes. And now back to cooking.
Now and suddenly we're back to food. Well, yesterday I am also the food dude.
Right.
For Cumulus. I come in on 98.9 on Thursday mornings, and I ply the residents of 98.9 with food on Thursday mornings.
Right.
And, a lot of the fun is giving them something they've never had before.
Which I'm feeling isn't hard.
So far, it has not been much of a challenge.
I saw how excited people got when you brought corn dogs to the chili cook-off.
Yeah.
As a transportation method of getting chili to your mouth by using a corn dog.
Yeah.
It's like people here had never heard of that before, and I'm just like, you haven't known Allan Gilbreth long enough.
Well, since we're trashing on anything embedded in Jell-O,
yes.
kind of a horrible thought. I can't even get it out straight. There are a few things embedded in Jell-O that are okay. Fundamentally, most of it, no. It is a great way, again, to never be asked back again.
True.
Especially
Especially if they find your,
the Jell-O embedded muffaletta.
Yeah.
Guaranteed to not get you invited back.
I always think back to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where the great aunt brings the Jell-O mold full of cat food.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty scary. There have been a lot of foods out there, and the one we tackled yesterday, and we're going to talk about for a minute, is the humble crescent roll.
Oh, you can do so much with a crescent.
All right, folks. Sometimes you're just desperate. Brandon and I also do the cooking today.
Yeah.
And so if you'd like to follow some Brandon and Allan recipes, you can go to thecookingtodayshow.com.
And if you'd like new episodes, you should bombard Cumulus with your emails.
Yes, and we're getting there. But what you can do with the simple crescent roll, and I'm like out of a can.
Yeah.
Brand regardless, doesn't matter.
I don't need to make my own phyllo dough or anything like that. I am good with canned dough.
I'm perfectly happy with machine produced, so I don't have to go through it.
Oh, and Pillsbury does that one can that's just the sheet of dough, so you can cut it to your specifications.
Cut it to whatever specification you want. And if you want just a quick, easy, down and dirty dessert, ridiculously simple. You need a jar of jelly or fruit preserves, cherry, strawberry, whatever you got.
I'm a pear fan myself.
Pears, whatever. All you got to do is lay out your crescent, smear some of this in the middle of it, roll it up, dust it with a sugar, whether it be rock sugar or sanding sugar or just plain white sugar. Doesn't matter. Bake like normal in the oven. You know these things are ready in 7 minutes? They cook really fast. As soon as they turn golden brown, you snatch them out of the oven. You're done. Yeah. That's it. And be imaginative, because my favorite version of that is marmalade. Yeah.
And guys, don't worry about, if it might be a little gooey in the middle. That hot jelly in there will continue to cook the inside.
It does. Yeah. It does. It happens quick and doesn't take a lot. It's just a little dash will do it.
And honestly,
oh my gosh,
one of the easiest ways, you don't even have to put anything on it. You roll it out, you butter it, you roll it back up as like in a jelly roll style. You put it in the oven and then drizzle honey on it afterwards,
or cinnamon, or nutmeg, or any flavor you want.
There is no. I know people are going to take this as a challenge, but there's no wrong way to croissant. Or crescents can be done any way.
All right, if you want to get doubly sneaky, you can buy the little, smokies, pre-cook them, roll them up in a crescent roll, bake it. You got pigs in a blanket.
Somebody's basically, heard what we're planning for our family get-together this Saturday.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, we're there. You want to cheat again? Drain some pre-canned beef stew.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that.
Roll that up in one, and now you got little instant walk-around sandwiches.
There you go.
Beef stew flavored sandwiches. It just so easy, so quick, so fast. So, our geeky section this week is we give you the versatile and very humble crescent roll, because why not? It's quick, it's easy, it's simple.
And it's the holidays.
It is. And honestly, once you've done a batch, then you're going to want to get experimental.
Yes.
Now walking through the grocery store is going to be, I wonder what that raspberry filling would taste like.
I have a feeling.
Or that apple pie filling.
The next episode of It Came from the International Market will be you taking weird things and putting in crescent rolls.
Not yet, but it's coming up. We'll talk about It Came from the International Market when we come back. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Geek Tank Radio with Brandon and Allan, and we'll be back in just a minute. And, we're up to more mischief.
Geek Tank Radio. News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. Guys, the show is almost wait, it's only Guy. I wasn't prepared for that either.
Well,
it's we got one more second. We really need to, expand this show. I'm just saying.
We have at least another hour's worth of stuff to talk about.
And that's just for this segment?
It is. It is. And for those of you listening around the world, we do broadcast here in Memphis, and to all of our listeners in, so far, the UK, Canada, India, Germany, guys, thanks for hanging in there with us. We love you. Stay with us.
And seriously, come to Memphis. Try the barbecue. It's worth it.
Oh, it is definitely worth the trip. We are so much more than just one trick pony. Memphis is one of those cities that can guarantee you some poundage, no matter how long your visit is.
You may only be here for a layover. You'll gain 20 pounds. It's awesome.
We can. And I discovered another one of our favorite seafood places last night. Just opened a new location, so I'm all excited. So we'll be talking about that.
We'll talk about that
We'll be talking about that here real soon. Memphis is a food town. And, ladies and gentlemen, let's face it, the geek population is a foodie population. We do love our food. We love our movies, our music. We love our art. We are a very excited community. And if you're just on the fringe, you know what? Geek people are easy to buy for. We are pretty simple.
Yeah.
We just love gadgets. We love stuff. We love our heroes.
We do. We love our villains even more.
I will say that there is at least one major department store that has truly embraced geekdom. When you walk through the toy section now, it is rather expansive. We'll just say that you'd be on target of shopping there.
Yeah.
What can I tell you?
It's amazing that we're not getting sponsored by them yet.
I don't know how, but it's got to happen soon.
Yeah.
It's the holiday season. Everybody's wondering what to buy somebody, what to give somebody. Really, we're not that hard.
No.
We're just not that hard because we love the T-shirts. We love the simple stuff. We love the games. We love the gadgets.
And there's so many places to get them now. You don't have to search, the inner workings of a comic shop just to find the stuff.
No.
It's everywhere.
You can pretty much go anywhere, any place, anytime. But we're going to throw in the international market for just a minute because we're going to throw in the international aisle at your local big grocery store or warehouse store because there are a lot of what I'm going to call geek specialty items now available.
Okay.
Even at your big box stores, there's Peprino and Pocky.
Yeah, you can get a case of Pocky at a grocery store.
And for those of you that have no idea what Pocky is a little piece of shortbread dipped in something.
Yeah.
The easiest way to think of it is like dipped in chocolate.
There are more flavors of Pocky than there are careers that Allan Gilbert has done in his past 3 centuries. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of Pocky. Yeah. There's a lot of Pocky. There are a very fast-growing number of international-style soft drinks.
Yes. I recommend checking out Iron Beer.
Okay.
It's Brazilian. It's tasty as all get out. And it's non-alcoholic, even though it's called Iron Beer. It's kind of got a weird root beer meets orange soda flavor.
Again, for the average consumer that has, of geeky family members, of odd stuff, especially if it's appeared in an anime or it's related to a movie or anything like that, we're going to like it. We're going to try it. We're going to look at it. The other thing, now, the one thing we feature on the show is the evil producer goes shopping at the international market specifically for items not normally known in the area. So, and then the hapless volunteers get to try it,
right,
and react to it. And so, and what is the most fun about this is the unexpected how much they like so much of the stuff.
Right.
There is a drink called horchata.
Oh yeah.
If you have never heard of or seen this stuff, it is a lot like if you like the really flavored cereals, the really cinnamony cereals and stuff.
Oh yeah.
This is kind of like letting the cereal soak for about 30 minutes in the milk and then throwing the cereal out.
Yeah.
And that basically, I think, would sum up this. And it is hilarious to watch people try something like this for the first time and realize how much they really like it.
Especially when they look at it because it doesn't look appetizing. And then they try it and they're like, wow.
This is just astounding. Right.
Yeah. I still, there's a couple of episodes that you filmed this year at MCFC, which, I see people doing the aloe drinks, and they all look like they're like, oh my God, what did I just drink? And then the fact that you walked out to the, registration area where I was at, and I downed both bottles that you had left.
Yes.
And people looked at me like I was insane, but that is so good.
Well, and it's very funny the number of people on the show that are now addicted to ginger candies.
Oh,
because they'd never tried anything like that before. And, when the first time you try it, everything's a little weird.
Right.
But it's kind of funny that now several people that were at the taping now ask me regularly when I go to the international market
to grab you some.
You got to pick me up a bag of those little ginger chews.
Yeah, I've got a case that years ago I got a case, and here's the thing, guys. Even if they get old, they still taste good. And they will settle your stomach better than anything else you can, have.
Well, they do have little medicinal purposes to them. So, kind of welcome to shopping for your geek, because we're getting down to the wire.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of doing a little PSA here and go.
Especially,
we like to eat, we like to drink, we like weird stuff, we love toys, we love gadgets and gizmos.
But here in Memphis, go over to the international market and you can get all your stocking stuffers.
And some of the things would still get out of the stocking stuffer, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah, be careful. Some of those do crawl out.
Yeah, some of them do move. So so since we're talking about the unusualness of being geeky at Christmas,
right?
And we talked about this last week a little bit. We have an embarrassment of riches in the amount of video content being produced everywhere,
right?
And I noticed a trend not too long ago that one of my old favorite traditions is really trying to get some foothold, and that is Victorian foods, Victorian dishes. Well, I've been asked for a lot of Victorian recipes here lately.
Yeah.
And the other one is a lot of people have asked about the Victorian tradition of telling holiday-based paranormal stories.
Yeah. Now let's just be completely honest. They're Christmas ghost stories.
They are.
In Victorian times, leading up to Christmas, on Christmas Eve, once the sun went down until the stroke of midnight, when it became Christmas Day, you sat around the fireplace and you told ghost stories.
Well, and if you think about the ones that have survived,
right.
you think like
Christmas
the Nutcracker.
Nutcracker.
Well, the Nutcracker, the Nutcracker story. It's it's war and mice and the Rat King and the whole, it's this whole amazing fantasy story.
But it's really dark.
I mean, it's not light, happy fare. I mean, it makes a great ballet and a wonderful musical. But the story itself, if you actually sit down and look at it, you kind of go, wow, this was kind of harsh.
Yeah. There was a part of me growing, who in my younger days, I'm not going to say growing up because I was grown at this point, who always thought, you wanted your kids to go to bed on Christmas Eve. Why are you telling stories that are going to keep them awake?
Well, this guaranteed they stayed in bed.
Yes.
With the covers over their head. Mm-hmm. Of course, and, Mr. Dickens gave us the preeminent Victorian ghost story.
Yeah, the Christmas Carol.
And I'll still hawk my favorite version. You got to watch Scrooged.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I love watching Carol Kane beat the bejesus out of Bill Murray. It is just, I don't know.
If you only watch the Ghost of Christmas Present, section, you get the gist of why Allan loves this movie.
It's such a great movie. Yeah. I would have loved to have been on the set. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't have cared. I'd have carried the bucket for somebody. I'd have been hammering something, anything. Just been a great time. So welcome to, and with the internet these days, it's not hard to look up a wide variety of the stories that were very popular for people to tell.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, you get into some of I'm going to go back to your nursery rhymes for this. Have you ever actually read the original version of the Three Little Pigs?
It's bad. It's
pigs,
traumatizing.
Yeah, I mean, all right, yay, the wolf was kind of rough, but man, those pigs were
they were harsh. But
they were, there was some comeuppance at the end of that story.
Oh yeah.
So when you go back and look at your fairy tales and you look at your nursery rhymes, and then you look at period pieces that were, good ghost stories of the time. What an interesting tradition, but I think what I like most about it is that you're going to be together with your family or friends, or both, and you're doing something together.
Which is what the holidays are all about.
Me personally, I don't care if you're cooking, don't care if you're eating. Guys, again, I'm going to throw the crescent roll back under the bus again and go, it's really easy to enlist everybody's help to make stuff. And it doesn't really matter how well it turns out. Because let's face it, if you roll a piece of bread in sugar, you're pretty much going to get something you're going to like.
Right.
If it's got chocolate in it, you're going to like it. Just because the cookies look funny doesn't mean they're not tasty.
Right.
So
I just see a little kid running wild with the wrong cookie cutter.
And who cares?
Yeah.
Because you decorate them how you want to decorate them. So the Halloween cookie cutters can make perfectly good Christmas decorations because now you got to get creative.
Right.
So I think that is going to be our message for this week. Go out there, be creative, get together, go have a good holiday, and for heaven's sake, hang out with your friends and family because they're what it's all about.
Yeah.
So for me and Brandon, I'm going to tell you, we'll see you next week on Geek Tank Radio.